This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We're getting into our big conversation right about now. And I've got with me in the studio Honorable Elvis Ifriye Ankra. He's a member of the NDC Manifesto Committee, former Director of Elections of the NDC. You might remember him as the Minister for Youth and Sports in Ghana. And he's here this morning to share his thoughts with us. Honorable, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Today you look even more energetic. What is accounting for this?
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the 7th of December for our victory. So victory is coming.
You say victory is coming?
Yep.
You've only got some 16 days to go. How prepared is the NDC?
We are as prepared as we can be. But I tell people that this period is the most dangerous period in every election. And I'm talking from experience.
When you say dangerous?
It's any little thing that you do can have an impact on the election. So we need to keep our eyes on the ball and continue to do what we're doing. Keep focused, be targeted, ensure that the message goes out. And all the preparations that we have done, we make sure that we tighten things up for the D-Day. That's it, and we're good to go.
Whereabouts in the country is the former president, John Dramani Mahama?
He's in the eastern region now, and you should have seen what happened in Chebi. Chebi, I don't know. You know, it was President Mahama who provided water for the people of Chebi. Yes. Chebi.
When you say water?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Water project.
Water, I see.
Nana Akufo-Addo was MP for 16 years. He couldn't provide water.
I thought the NDC was going to avoid going to Chebi.
Why should we avoid going to Chebi? It's part of Ghana.
Indeed.
Yes, it's part of Ghana. There are people there, and they will vote for us. You will see the results.
You think it can make an impact?
Oh, we will make an impact. Not I think. I know we will make an impact. Go and look for the reels and see what happened in Chebi. It was massive. We've never had such a response. And I'm not just talking about crowd, but you talk about when you're entering a community and you see ordinary people, the way they receive you, coming out of their shops, coming by the roadside, and the energy in Chebi, Nanado's own hometown, because they know that it's only the family and friends that are enjoying. Majority of the people are suffering, and they know that Galamsey has devastated their community. Those who have cocoa farms are being destroyed. They are losing their source of livelihood. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, did you see some of that destruction with your own eyes when you were there? Because we are constantly hearing that there's a lot of Galamsey, a lot of destruction going on in Chebi. Is it true?
It's not just Chebi. It's everywhere. In all the mining areas. And I tell people that if you don't have any reason to vote out the MPP and vote in the NDC, the Galamsey menace alone is more than enough reason. You see, for those people who are not close, maybe you live in Accra or any other place, so you don't see what is going on, but the implications are very, very, very serious. Now, let me give you the lowdown.
Yes.
So when we're leaving power, according to the WHO, the standard for water, and they use what we call MTU.
NTU, yes.
I don't know what it means.
That's what they use to measure the turbidity of the water.
Yeah, I know, but in terms of what it means technically,
yes,
I'm an honest person.
Sure.
So it was the WHO standard is 5.
Correct.
Okay. So when they test the water, it should be 5. If it's more than 5, it's a problem. Before the NDC left office, it went up to 40. Okay. That means it wasn't good, okay? Today, what is the turbidity level of the water? And this is not NDC speaking. This is Ghana Water Company, which was chaired some time ago by Honorable Afenyo Makin, the current leader of the MPP in Parliament. What is the turbidity of the water? It's not 1,000. It's not 2,000. It's not 5,000. It's not 10,000. It is 14,000.
In fact, that's right. That's River Pras turbidity level, we were told, had reached some 14,000 NTU. That's nephelometric turbidity units.
Thank you for the education. Nephelometric turbidity unit. 14,000. Is this not insane? That the water level has gotten to that. It's crazy. And you know the implications? All the waters connect somehow. You know, they all connect. They all come from the same source. And the water percolates to the ground. So if you're in Accra and you think that you are drinking, you are buying any of the mineral waters and you are drinking, you are deceiving yourself, because at the end of the day, the source of the water and the mining they are doing on the water bodies and in the forest, they go to the sources, the head of where the water comes from. So it's going to affect all of us. Already the statistics, and again, this is not me speaking or NDC speaking, science statistics done by medical doctors show that there's a high increase of skin cancers in those communities, of women having stillbirths, of women giving birth to children with deformities. Some have 6 toes, 9 toes, no eyes, most of their organs are deformed. We have a high incidence of kidney diseases, liver diseases, and it's going on. This is in Ghana right now. Now, my phone, what even makes it more frightening is that just a few days ago, I saw this report. Now, the cocoa sector has been affected significantly. At the time we were leaving office, cocoa production was about 966,000 metric tons. Today, the cocoa board is struggling to reach 450,000 metric tons. And one of the major reasons is that the cocoa trees are being cut for galamsey. So we failed in that area. We're also not replanting. Now, this is a report in one of the international media houses is saying that the Ghana Cocoa High Street Journal, they're very credible. It's not Ghana's cocoa at risk. How lynch-led scandal could spell disaster for Ghana's cocoa. Summary is that, and everybody can check High Street Journal. It says that they found traces of harmful heavy metals in Lane's chocolates, including lead and cadmium. Okay? And this revelation has shaken the industry and prompted a class action lawsuit with consumers questioning whether Lane's claim of expertly crafted chocolates made with the finest ingredients hold true. And it says that majority of the cocoa beans are gotten from Ghana. It's here. It's in black and white. So if they go further, the danger is that they might ban cocoa from Ghana.
Because they don't want those harmful chemicals penetrating their markets.
This is where we are going. You haven't even talked about the non-traditional exports. I know somebody who does non-traditional exports. He said for the past 2 years, for some strange reason, when they send the exports, they just warehouse them. They are not being paid. It means that they are doing some test. So the non-traditional export, which is very critical to our economy, thousands and millions of jobs will also be affected. So I'm saying that this government has failed monumentally. If you don't have any reason to vote out this government, the galamsey menace alone is enough for you to vote them out. Because you are talking about WHO standard of 5. In our time, it went up to 40. And when it was 40, it was easy to be reversed. Today, at 14,000, the scientists are telling us that it's almost impossible. But even if it is done, for the soil, some are saying 20 years, 30 years, some are even saying 100 years. Some are even saying that for the soil, you cannot even plant edible food. You may have to plant some kinds of tree crops. This is a disaster. This is ecocide. When I saw Cardinal Tessin in Ghana joining that march, I knew there was a problem. Because the Catholics, they are very, 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 very sophisticated. Before somebody becomes a father, just a father, he goes to training for 10 years. So for somebody to rise to be a cardinal, working with the Pope, for him to be released to come to Ghana and join that protest and issue a public statement and say that there is an ecocide, it means that there's something going on. And this is not the NDC saying it. Ecocide means that environmental suicide, just as genocide is killing people during war.
Indeed.
So we are measuring the environment. Nana Addo and his people, they don't care. Every single report since he came to office by his own people, including Frimfo Boateng, states that there are people in the Flagstaff House, people in Parliament, ministers of state, people in national security who are heavily involved. Names are mentioned. No action has been taken. When the whole Ghana got up and said we must do something about this situation, and Labour were going to go on a demonstration, somebody says disorganized Labour, and they held negotiations with them, they said, they were going to ban mining in water bodies and forests. The first phase, they send the people on the operation. You know what is happening there?
What is
Before they get there, the people already know that they are coming, so they leave. Immediately they go. The places they went to, the miners
so
are back.
You say this is an exercise in futility because the government is
I'm not the one saying it, my dear. I'm not the one saying it. Your colleagues report. I don't know if you don't follow, but I'm sure you've sent reporters.
Oh, we do, certainly.
Yes,
we have our eyes and ears
exactly
on the ground.
What is happening on the ground? That so-called operation, is it making any impact? And what about the forest? The forest itself, that is where the regional chairman has his mines, he's mining like crazy. How come that they are not doing it? They should have banned mining in the forest as well.
So, Honorable, the NPP says, well, let's all come to the table. They say, let's all sign a pact as parties. The NDC, the NPP, let's sign a pact to say that this is something that we are going to stamp out. Because the idea, the perception of the ordinary Ghanaian is that this canker of galamsey, one, didn't start today. And the average Ghanaian, from testing the pulse, really believes that no party can stamp out this level of ecocide that we're seeing. How do we trust that the NDC has the solutions to make this a thing of the past? 14,000 NTU, it's alarming. Like you mentioned, children being born with deformities. I mean, we're in the crisis right now. People want radical solutions.
So, first of all, we have a responsibility to educate Ghanaians.
Absolutely.
Many people do not have the facts. So if we get a platform like this, we must state the facts and let them know. Nobody can tell me that you had a government where the pollution was 40 NTU.
Absolutely.
It's not good. We admit, and that's why we're saying it. I'm NDC, I'm saying in our time it went up to 40 MTU. But even that one was sustainable. And then when they show you a picture, and your producer can show us a picture of the river 2016 and a picture of the river today, vast difference. And then scientifically proven by independent entities, it's moved from 40 MTU to 14,000 MTU. How can any sane, rational person say they are the same? It cannot be. So let's deal with that perception first. It is impossible. It is impossible. We
say the stats, the numbers, the data doesn't support that.
It speaks for itself. So we are not and we will never be the same. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the licenses that have been issued from 2017 till date, it's a huge quantum leap. If you look at the total number of licenses that were given out over the past 10 years before we left office, and you look at the about 1,300 licenses given out in the past 8 years, that's a huge quantum leap. Number three, if you look at the reports instituted by the president himself, by his own minister, the details are there. They mention MPP people, MPP apparatchiks. You saw MPP people collecting money, bribes. Some of them want to go to parliament. So these facts are there. So this thing about we are all the same is complete hogwash. We should just put it somewhere. We are not the same. The records are clear that we were managing the situation better. The MPP have seen it. That is an avenue for making quick money. Party here, Sika. That is why they're doing it deliberately and consciously, and that is why they don't have the capacity to deal with it. Now, what do we say we're going to do with it? We have stated clearly that we don't have any problem with any legitimate mining activity at all. That legitimate miners, people, small-scale miners, large-scale miners, we don't have any problem. And indeed, we will encourage and support them.
Right.
The problem we have is illegal mining on water bodies and forest. And for us, we are saying it's a no. We will not compromise on that under any circumstances whatsoever. We would not. It was Nanado who then passed the law to use his prerogative to issue licenses for mining in water bodies. It was in forest reserves. That was Nanado. Was it the NDC? We are saying that immediately we take office, we're going to ban that activity immediately because you know the implications on the entire ecosystem. So that is our program. And we're saying that we are going to ensure responsible mining. You see, what they did was that when they came first and then they instituted the so-called ban on mining, they then took the licenses of legitimate miners, banned excavators, seized excavators, and gave it to their party people. And then the so-called community mining, where they said they've brought equipment, it is party people. You're talking about DCs, you're talking about party chairmen. So they don't have any control, so they don't have the capacity.
So you say the community mining is a smoke screen?
It's a smoke screen. They're giving it to their party apparatchiks. If you go to the constituencies, the DCs, even recently, after all the hula baloo, they were still issuing licenses to MMDCs.
In fact, as the strike was ongoing, I believe
exactly
licenses were being given out.
So if you're a Ghanaian, you are listening to me, you want this situation to be dealt with, and believe me, this situation will affect you. Whether you live in a mining community or not, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect all of us. In fact, the data shows that if we don't deal with this in the next 7 to 10 years, we have to start importing water to drink. True or false? Am I the one who said it?
According to reports. By 2030, that could be a reality.
That could be a reality. So this is something that is so real, it's so tangible. And the only way we can deal with it is to have a change of government. That government will be accountable to people. That government knows that it's made promises. That government recognizes that this is a danger to all of us, and that government will deal with it. So it's important that we deal with this matter because the implications are dire. It's frightening. And look, if you look at the data, they claim that every year or so, according to statistics from Dubai, about $20 billion worth of gold comes there from Ghana. And yet locally, the data is talking about 7 billion. So where is the difference? These are monies that are going into individual pockets that is not benefiting the society and the community. So we're saying that we want to ensure that when we come back to power, those communities, we've been doing this for so long. You go to Obuasi, you go to Takwa, you go to all these places where they mine. Millions and billions of dollars are taken out of those places every year. There's nothing to show for it. We're saying that we institute a policy where part of the proceeds will be used to develop those communities, do roads for them, build schools for them, build hospitals for them, do community centers for them, so that when you come, the communities will have a facelift. So these are things that we intend to do within that sector and collaborate with them. There are people who have gone to learn mining in the universities. They are there. We will attach them to the various mining entities so that they will give them education on how to do sustainable mining. We are going to decentralize the licensing regime so that people shouldn't travel all the way to Accra to the Minerals Commission. That breeds corruption before they can obtain their licenses. So in every district where there is some mining activity, you ensure that you decentralize the mining registration and documentation there. When we do all these things, we'll be able to maintain.
So this sounds like a holistic approach.
Oh, yes.
That the NDC wants to embark on, not just on, I mean, like you say, issuing of licenses and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
I want us to park the Galamsey issue very, very quickly.
Good.
Because we've got some 16 days to the election. How confident is the NDC of the EC's ability to conduct fair, transparent, and credible elections this year? Because we've seen you all throughout the year have a back and forth with the EC, and at times it has gotten very contentious indeed.
You know,
do you want to exhaust the EC? You want to make them tired before December 7th?
No, it's based on their own conduct. You know, somebody said, "Don't you trust them?" So trust but verify. You know, trust is not. You can't just trust then you go to sleep. You must ensure you have a responsibility to ensure that things are done properly. And so the question is, the issues that we've been raising, do they have any basis? I think that should be the basis for all the discussions, okay? So this is an EC that I was election director. I was in Jimpa Law School. After a couple of months after my appointment, when I saw the behavior of the EC, I realized that no, J Mensa is a full-time problem. So I cannot combine it with law school. So I had to stop law school so I can focus on my job.
You described the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana as a full-time problem. Yes. That is scathing.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's not, and I'll give you reasons. Okay. For example, we went for a meeting. Before the meeting, we were given an agenda.
Okay.
The agenda was review of district assembly elections. Report on the auditor, the various political parties were audited, and then there was something else, and then any other business. So went for that meeting, had exhaustive discussions. Towards the end, one person from GCPP asked that the equipment that was used for the assembly elections or for the referendum were defects. Some of them were problematic. So what are we going to do about it? Then the EC said she's written to Parliament to ask for budgetary support to repair the elections and that to repair the equipment. Sorry. and that it is possible that maybe we can even have a new register. And so quickly we raised objection that, what are you talking about, new register here? They said, oh, this is just, because it wasn't on the agenda.
Right.
We left the meeting around 6 o'clock. By 8 p.m., the EC had issued a statement that there was an IPAC meeting, and these are the words that I'm quoting. After extensive deliberations, those were the words, all the parties agreed that there should be a new register. If you were in that meeting, and I've told you this is what transpired, and then the Electoral Commission, using state letterhead, tells this blatant lie, and it's lies, and puts it out in the public domain. What would you think? Was
that the genesis of your mistrust?
Yeah, no, of course, that was part of it. There were a few things, when she was at IEA, I'd worked with, I was the Deputy General Secretary then. So, even though the circumstances for appointments were not very clear, but it's okay. If she's going to behave the way she was in IEA, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. So, we went with an open mind that we're going to collaborate with her. That's what she did. Number two, then she wanted to do the new register. Every CSO possible raised issues. In fact, she had written a budget and had been given huge sums of money to repair and get new BVDs. You recall?
Yes.
Millions of Ghana cedis. And yet she jettisoned all that. It was a complete without financial loss, and insisted on a new register during COVID. You remember?
I recall.
Good. Ayawaso West Wagon. Everybody, including children, saw what happened with their naked eyes. Okay? When she went to the commission, she said she and her officers, they were not aware of the things that went on. I could give you countless examples of many things that she did. And so when my colleagues, those days, some of them would tell me, yeah, you're a bit too hard on the EC, take your time, and I have all the records, all the press conferences and everything. Today, when I see the things happening, it's like deja vu. Everything that is happening, nothing has changed. It's the same EC. The same EC. The same EC, we're going to do printing of ballot papers. Usually, you give the political parties the data.
Indeed.
Because you are going to monitor. There has to be a basis for you to monitor. We did everything under the sun. They refused to give us the data. We did a press conference in the premises on the grounds of the Accra Press. Those records are there. Come 2024, the same things were happening. They did not give the parties data. So how are they going to monitor? The same issue. We went to there was a printing house, InnoLink. Printing had been done. There was a problem with one of the constituencies. So everything had been done, dispatched, signed, sealed, all the materials destroyed, etc. Then they came back to work on that one. And then our team discovered over 1 million ballot papers for Ashanti region alone. We raised the alarm. You know what they told us? They said it was for runoff. The woman on duty, she didn't understand what runoff meant.
She said it's for runoff.
Yes. We have everything on video. And we raised the alarm. We took all the things to go and burn it. The EC, in the face of such incontrovertible evidence, with videos, we even reported to the police. National security, they were part of the team that escorted us to go and destroy the material. They said, they say what we are saying is not true. So when you do all these things, why should we trust you? So we should open our eyes. You are going to play a match with the referee who is biased, a bias of the EC. Boss, when I said, didn't she say that the NDC is a threat to Ghana's democracy? Didn't she say that?
That is correct.
Under normal circumstances, you should have been fired. Then they go and appoint somebody who is an MPP communication member, a member of TESCON, who sits on radio to defend the MPP. They appoint him into the commission. And you say we should trust them. Hello?
Hi.
We will open our eyes, our ears, our everywhere, and ensure that we follow the process diligently. Kudos to the team. They are doing a great work, but it's not over yet. We should continue to monitor them, follow them, chase them, open our eyes. Look, let me give you one. It's a killer. Do you know that Jemensa, as she's sitting there, is a working illegality?
Honorable.
Yes. Everything I say, I'll give you basis.
All right,
okay?
Let's hear you.
So, 1st December 2020, we're going to do the special voting.
Right.
2 days before then, so we went to do the special voting. A day before then, we went to do a review meeting, and we realized that the pink sheet, so-called, there's a particular portion, where you do the calculation of the number of ballots that were brought in the morning, then post-voting, the number of leaflets that are left, and then when you count what is in the ballot box, you put that together. When you sum it, then you will know whether there is overvoting.
Right.
That particular portion of the pink sheet was removed. Yes, I'm not telling you a story. I have everything on tape. We have everything. So before the 7th of December, when we did the review for the 1st December election, National Security Minister Kandapa, and I'm mentioning names, Chief of Staff, Madam Frema, they told her to the face that you are going to create a constitutional crisis. Why did you remove this from there? Then she gave all kinds of excuses. So she was instructed to go and ensure that she fixes that problem and ensures that that column, that critical column, is on the sheet. Lo and behold, what happened? 6th of December, when we went, she said they had introduced stamps. Okay, so instead of the column having those portions with boxes, there were stamps. We were not happy, but you had 1 day to election. Is that the time you're going to call for a boycott of the elections or postponement? Everybody will say, you lose.
In fact, I was going to ask, what do you say to people who say you are only preparing a ground?
No, and I'll come to that.
Okay.
So, because these are relevant issues. If any sensible, right-thinking person, if these things happen, wouldn't you be concerned? Okay. So, she introduced stamps. So we insisted that, okay, if you put a stamp there, and so we saw the communication, we monitored the communication instructions to all the officers across the country that make sure that they are stamped, but then make sure that they are signed, okay? After the election, what we observed, particularly in Ashanti and parts of Eastern region, is that a lot of those sheets were not stamped. You know the implication? If they are not stamped, then it means that you are not able to detect whether there's overvoting, right? Some were stamped but not signed. Okay?
Right.
Some were stamped and signed, but there were no figures in it. So it created all kinds of problems. So your question was, why are we having such difficulty? It's on the basis of these behaviors, and a lot of it is still being manifested. Now, to your question, if you are going into an election and you are dealing with an EC such as this, you are going into a football match, and you have a referee that has been brought in who has shown consistent bias, will you be singing and clapping hallelujah? Would it not be in your interest to let the public know that this is the conduct of this referee? Even in a recent match, this is what he did, and therefore we are not comfortable with his conduct. And therefore you alert the entire public to be on the lookout for all these discrepancies. So it's a legitimate, every issue we have raised is legitimate.
Is the NDC ready? Or will you be ready on the day? You say your eyes are open, your ears are open.
Yes. But we'll keep our ears open till the last ballot is counted and she's compelled to declare the results in our favor. As for that one, you cannot go to sleep. Nobody should go to sleep. We cannot.
And I hear communicators telling supporters, don't go to sleep. When you vote, stay unobserved. Do you think some of that language might maybe whip up the wrong type of appetite in your base?
What kind of appetite is that? Is it for Kokonte or Banco?
I mean, I hear it day in, day out.
Is it not
you admonish your supporters, don't move an inch after you vote. I mean, but we're also hearing from security.
Which security?
Said when you vote, go and sleep.
Which security? Which security? I saw a video of somebody in military uniform.
Indeed.
That person's call is illegitimate. Because who is in charge of security during elections? Is the IGP.
Indeed.
The IGP met all of you, media, yesterday. Did he tell you that? He didn't.
No.
So that call by that soldier, whoever is illegitimate and it has to be disobeyed. There is a National Security Task Force headed by the Inspector General of Police. And I will commend him, even though I have a big problem with him. He's my friend, very good friend. But I have a big problem with him.
You've got a problem with him?
Yes, because for all the work that he's doing, which he deserves credit, I am your friend saying, 2020 elections, the 8 people that were murdered, we wrote letters to him. The second year, we wrote reminding him. They came out with a statement that they are investigating. Not one person has been arrested. Is that not cause for you to worry? When 8 people are murdered in the 2020 elections, and we are going into an election, and nobody has been arrested, nobody has been called to account. You think we shouldn't be concerned? So we are concerned. So the onus is on him. Let him prove to us. We know that his hands are tied in many ways, but in a way, Asin North, he redeemed himself somehow. Because in Asin North, they brought all kinds of thugs there. All the things they tried to do in Ayawaso West, they tried to do it there, but there was a system in place to check them, to checkmate them, both from our side and from the regular police. So we will give him the benefit of the doubt now. He should prove to us that he's not part of that cabal that is doing those things. So we will disobey that so-called, he has no authority. That soldier who said that he has no basis. This is not the first election we have had.
Right.
In every election, if you have the strength and the capacity, when you finish voting, you can stay there. Go and bring a chair, stay there. Go home, go and eat kokonte, go and eat TZ, go and eat wakbele, go and eat rice. Come back, be there.
Fortify yourself and come back.
Exactly.
But you know, it's not even just from that military officer that we've seen in that viral clip who's admonishing Ghanaians to go home and sleep. For example, Kathleen Addy of the NCCE, I had a conversation with her recently and she says the same thing. After voting, go...
What is the basis? Is there any law? She should quote law.
That because of how tense elections...
All the elections that people have stayed there, has there been any tension? The only place where there were tension is when their government sent thugs wearing earrings with beard to Techima to go and shoot people. That is how it's never happened before. Even under Rollins, who was a military man, not one single person was killed. It is only under Nanado and his MPP that 8 people are murdered callously. And nothing happens. And we are going to another election and say we should go and sing hallelujah. It's not going to happen. Silas, young Silas, doing voters registration. He was murdered and gunned down. To date, nobody has been brought to book. Ayawaso West Wagon, the commission, Brigadier General, who has been promoted and put in charge of the middle.
But I wanted to come to that
yes.
because I listened quite keenly to the NDC's press conference, spearheaded by Sami Jemfi, that's your communications director.
Yes.
He says that you have caught wind, or the party knows of some machinations that are being put in place for rigging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't advance a lot of evidence. Of course, he gave us the background. We know this person. We know what the Emos Short Committee, the recommendations that were made.
Yes, so he should have been fired by now.
What has happened after
so
that?
How come that he was not fired and he has been promoted and he has been put in that place where all the bad
Is
things
that
happen?
the basis for the allegations?
That's not enough, but that is sufficient basis for you to know that there's something going on. And we have said that because these are intelligence material, the information that we have, we cannot say everything in public. When we go to the IGP, we'll give him further and better particulars, pictures, videos, dates, events. We'll give all the details to him. Why is it that Chairman to me is panicking in Ashanti region?
He's panicking?
Why is it that he's saying that they should arrest COP Kofi Boakye? What did Kofi Boakye tell him?
Well, the NPP have come with a counter. They say you two are also lacing your boots to cause chaos.
The track record and the record shows since 1992 that it is only the NPP that have murdered people, killed people in cold blood during an election. It's never happened under NDC. It is they who, even during registration, they've murdered people, killed people. During by-election, they've maimed people. The people are still maimed out to today. That is the track record. And the commission was set up. The report came out, made recommendations. The person who claimed responsibility was not dealt with, but has been promoted and put in a region which is very, very sensitive. And you say we should sit down. Hello? Really? Are we idiots? That we should just sit down and watch? Because of why? Let me speak bad English. Because of why?
16 days
Please.
To the big day.
So they should just know from what is happening at the Electoral Commission to security maneuvers. Let me just drop this one. The people they have trained, they are training in South Africa. 8 of them came on the 14th of this month on an SA flight. Yes, 14. They were wearing suits, black suits. Listen. Let me just give free, friendly advice to everybody. If you're a returning officer, you're a presiding officer, you are usually the regular police, fire service, security, they are not a problem. Because their wives all go to market, they all know the situation. But let me just admonish them as well. But for those who have been trained. They've given them promises, given them money to come to polling stations, come and cause confusion, and etc. I want to advise them. Please, you have only one life. Do your work diligently according to law. Do your work diligently. Presiding officers, returning officers, every other official involved in the election process, do your work diligently, because this time around, you are not going to get away with it. The people, our national anthem, there's a part that says, help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and with all our might.
Oh, no, but when you start speaking like this, I think, what kind of appetite are you whipping up?
I'm whipping appetite for people to be alert and not to allow themselves to be murdered, maimed, or killed during this election, as it happened in 2020. Because were people not killed?
They were killed.
Were people not murdered? Were people not maimed? Did they not do the same thing? Ayawa so West Wagon. So we are just telling them. And you see, I'm speaking as somebody who was in charge of operations in 2008. They started this things long ago, but we were able to contain them in a certain way. 2008, they brought people from other places wearing police, military uniforms with no name tags and all that, but they were contained. It's not everything that I can say on air, but some of them who are there, they should speak to their seniors and ask them what happened to them.
To it?
When the ground is hot, and the feet will feel it.
When the ground is hot, the feet will feel it. Time check, it is something.
So we want a peaceful election.
Absolutely.
We have consistently. Then the last time I talked about, we should sign. You yes. mentioned it with the mining, but bringing it to
the peace
too. Yes. We should sign. We sign. Those papers are meaningless. Do you understand me? Because in 2020, did we not sign? We signed a peace pact. There was a big celebration in Ashanti region. Great Hall, Otunfo was there. It was a whole live coverage and everything. What happened?
You say we need to move beyond the ceremony of it?
Yeah, it's form, no substance. Whereas if you want to sign, let the security services, they are major stakeholders. The police, the military, let them sign. All the other stakeholders, the Electoral Commission, let them sign. Then there will be some meaning. In any case, when we signed that one previously and people went and murdered, has anybody been dealt with? What is the guarantee that after signing, the same thing will not happen? When Nanado, the president, says he will not hand over, he will hand over to his party.
The president has changed his tune.
He has changed his mind. He better.
In the last few weeks, he says he will hand over to who the people want. He has changed his tune.
Good. The people are tired. The people want a change. You see, democracy has been designed in such a manner that after 4 years, if you do well or the people are not sure, they may give you another 4 years. After 8 years, please, there has to be a change. You see, that is the natural cycle of things. That's why it's been designed such a way. In any environment, if water stays too long in a barrel, it stinks, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so the MPP, they are stinking. They should just leave, let a new set of people come in with new ideas, reset the country. People will test us. If we do well, they'll give us another 4 years. If we don't do well, they'll kick us out. That is the way democracy has been designed. This business of you want to continue. Continue what? You have taken this country from be stable to junk. For the first time in the history of this country, the first time, pensioners, you've sat on their money, you've gone pickpocket, you've gone into their pockets, taking their monies, the principal and interest. A lot of them have died. For the first time, pensioners had to go on demonstration. Have you seen some before? Since Nkrumah's time? Our debt to GDP ratio was 55%. You said, hey, it's unprecedented. Today, the debt to GDP ratio went up to 104%. Our accumulated debt from Nkrumah's time to today, till we left office, 126 billion. Mahama borrowed 54 billion with things to show for it. Every sector, I can show you things that we did. Today, you have borrowed, the cumulative debt is now 757 billion. You borrowed over 650 billion. Where is the money? When you talk, they say free SHS. Free SHS, according to the finance minister, they haven't even spent 20 billion since its inception.
In fact, Honorable, I want to come to that. But time check, it is some 18 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. We're still live here on 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Our guest this morning for the big conversation, Honorable Elvis Ifriye Ankra, speaking to us about the NDC's plans. Some 16 days to the elections. I want us to talk about manifestos. That's a big ticket item. And, as part of your manifesto launches, we saw the youth manifesto launch, another vibrant one for women as well, and then the general one. Would you say, what would you say is in the manifesto that is really catching the eye of the people? I know 24-hour economy is a big one, a big ticket item. Is that the one that's getting a lot of attention? What else is in there that is appealing to the everyday Ghanaian?
So there are a number of things, but let me take this opportunity to, some people genuinely do not understand the 24-hour economy. There are some people, even if you open their head and explain, they will decide not to understand. So they are not my concern. I'm talking about genuinely those who don't understand. So what is the 24-hour economy? And I like using analogies to break it down very simply. So let's take, for instance, there's a factory in Kaswa. You know Kaswa, they grew a lot of cassava, Bojuase, all those areas. So somebody has established a cassava processing factory. He does gari, he does ethanol for export. So he does 9 to 5, regular. He employs 100 people. Every month, he produces 1,000 bags of gari, 1,000 drums of ethanol. Under the 24-hour economy, we set up a secretariat. He comes to apply. I want to be part of the 24-hour economy. The first thing we'll do is that we'll send people to the office and go and install what we call a time of use meter. That time of use meter, it bills differently from the regular meter. So in the night, so if for instance during the day you are charged 50 cedis per hour, with this time of use you'll be charged maybe 10 cedis. That's reducing your cost of production by 80%. That's huge, because the research we have done shows that in the manufacturing sector and the industrial sector, energy cost is one of the major costs that they incur. So if you reduce that for them, it's a major incentive.
Okay, so these are some of the incentives.
Yes. Then number two, he would want to expand and bring in more equipment. So government will say, okay, maybe go to Exim or any of the financial institutions, and we are not going to charge you commercial rates. But because you're under the 24-hour economy, we'll give you a very low rate. Today, the rate is about 35%, right? Maybe we'll give you 10%, or even a grant. And somebody will say, oh, what is the proof? We've done it before with all the pharmaceutical companies. President Mahama gave them grants, and some of them expanded. Some of them are producing even in other neighboring countries. Then, when you bring in the equipment, we'll say, instead of paying first of all, we're going to reduce a lot of taxes anyway. This government has introduced about 40 new taxes. So pay a flat rate, okay? Maybe 7%, 10%, because you are bringing the equipment to feed manufacturing and industry. Then after that, we'll say maybe the road leading to the factory is not in good shape. District Assembly, clear the road. Then under the Ghana Lighting Program, because people are going to work 24 hours, we say from the main road to where the factory is, ensure that there is light, so you light up the place. Now, what is going to happen? This person who was doing 1,000 bags a day now does 3,000 bags. That's 3,000 drums of ethanol. Employs what? 300 people. What happens? The 300 people, they get jobs. They pay taxes to government. The 3,000 bags, government says is to use its purchasing power to direct buffer stock, school feeding, buy the gari. The president says he himself will chair an accelerated export development council, where they will take up advantage of such entities like AFTA, where the market potential is almost 1 trillion, and ensure that our goods are able to penetrate other African markets. So with this intervention alone, you see the effects.
Honorable, can I ask a question, please on this 24-hour economy? So the idea of incentives, that's certainly going to come at a cost to the NDC government, because if you're reducing the tariffs for electricity, I hear in some quarters, some tax waivers, as you've mentioned here and there, that monies are going to have to come from somewhere. And I've asked a number of NDC personnel, where is that money going to come from? The foremost thing I've heard is that, well, if we cut back on wastage, we can pump those monies that are normally wasted into the 24-hour economy or supporting the venture or supporting the policy until it takes off by way of excess production. Is there any way else that the NDC is seeking to fund this beyond just cutting out wastage? Is there going to be maybe a specially set up fund for which those who subscribe to the initiative can draw from? Because, yes, I mean, tax cut, where is the money going to come from?
So, I don't want to repeat what the old man repeated, but just to give you an idea, the NDC, when we're in office, Professor Mills to John Dramani Mahama, 8 years, the total cumulative revenue that we got was 300 billion. The MPP from 2017 to date, they've gotten 1.2 trillion. Okay? Every year, when you look at the Auditor General's report, you're talking about almost 17 billion wasted. So the waste question is critical. Because if you trim down your government, you have only 60 ministers, and you have a policy where you ensure that there is transparency and accountability. I've given you an example of the mining sector where we claim that Dubai says $20 billion worth of gold comes to them. In Ghana, the records show that 7 billion. So when you seal those holes, definitely there'll be resources. Okay. Apart from that, the cost of unemployment, the cost of underproduction itself, once you increase production, there's a spillover on the entire value chain in the economy. So automatically, the more jobs are created, the more people pay taxes. So you make up. Again, when it comes to taxation, one of the major issues is compliance.
That's right.
Today, you are charging so much at the ports. What are the volumes? The volumes have gone down drastically. When you go to a place like Togo, because the charges are minimal, many people are going there. Cumulatively, what they get there is more than what we are getting here, even though our rates are higher. So what it means is that sometimes when you reduce the taxes, you rather get more compliance, more people paying, and you get more revenue. That's how taxation works. So I hope to have answered that question. So that's for the 24-hour economy.
Right.
Then the next thing is the women's banking. Because when we're writing them, I didn't know, I like being honest. The European countries, SMEs constitute over 90% of their economy. 90%.
That's a huge chunk.
I didn't know.
I mean, that's virtually the
I
entire...
thought that because they had big industries. SME is 90%. In Ghana, we don't have all the statistics, but it's over 80%. And out of this 80%, over 90% are women. So the women play a critical role in the SME sector in Ghana. So we're saying that we're going to create a specialized bank that will focus on SMEs for women. Because when you support the women, you that's how God has made you. You're able to reproduce. You give a woman 1,000 cedis, 5,000 cedis, 10,000 cedis. He's selling cocoa, he's selling this. He's able to turn it around and build houses. So many examples. So we think that when we support the women, we'll be supporting the SME sector. And that will help them to begin to formalize. For example, all these women that are selling, they don't have any pension schemes, etc. These are all things that we want to do. You go and take the loan, register. You'll be given some literacy, how to manage, how to do your accounts, etc. With your online, and then through that, maybe every day pay 1 cedi for what as a source of social security, and then we build up from there. What excites me most is what I'll call the digital jobs.
Digital jobs. You're talking about coders and all of that.
Yes, because you see, we lost out in the technological age. We lost out in the industrial age, but we cannot afford to lose out in the digital age. And whether we like it or not, the digital age has come to stay. In the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years going.
Then that means you support the It Is Possible guys. You support Dr. Baumia. He said he's a digital man. That means you like what he's doing.
Don't worry, I'll deal with him. First of all, you cannot have digitalization without the digital infrastructure. Digitalization does not stand in the air. So you see the studio that we're in. Yeah. The reason why it's a broadcast and not a conversation is because there's a certain infrastructure that carries the message outside. Absolutely. It's the same with digitalization. So you need digital infrastructure. And this was President John Dramani Mahama who started the digital infrastructure in Ghana, 1,000 kilometer fiber optics from Accra to Boku. kilometer radius, Tema, Accra metropolitan area. Over 119 base stations across the country. All these were the infrastructure. The Accra Digital Center. Okay, all these were infrastructure to prepare the way for digitalization. That is government-led. I've heard MPP so since then the digital fiber optics they've gone. Those are private sector-led. I'm talking about government having the vision and investing to create the enabling environment. Baumia hasn't done none of that. Okay, and then secondly, when it comes to the digital manifesto, that is why we launched the Youth Manifesto, and the digital manifesto was a critical part of that conversation. After we had launched our manifesto, they go and pick aspects of our manifesto, change the wording a little, and they want to claim it to themselves. Ghanaians cannot be fooled because they know that John Mahama is the one who started the digital infrastructure.
In fact, because you mentioned that, I heard the NDC talk about the 1 million coders program. And then shortly after, I think I also heard the NPP have a similar program.
So they look at our manifesto. For example, the Women's Bank. When we mentioned the Women's Bank and they realized that it was catching fire, then they went to talk about women's entrepreneurs, something. So we will partner with local startups, tech startups, and launch what we call a digital jobs initiative to create at least 300,000 skilled employment opportunities for the youth. Another area of growth in this current world is Fintech, financial technology.
That's right.
It's growing. Everybody, payment systems.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who have ideas, proposals, they don't know what to do. We said we'll establish a $50 million seed capital for a Fintech growth fund. And then we shall train 1 million coders. Now, our children, they take our phones. You see them playing with it, and they'll get into some parts of the phone you didn't even know.
That's right.
You think they're playing, but they are demonstrating digital skills. But all these talents are being wasted. All the major players in that industry, before they come into a country, they do what we call a digital literacy scan. So they will scan, they'll go on, everybody's online, they'll do a survey. Do you know how to use phone? What can you do? What can you do? So it gives them an idea of the number of people in the country who have the digital literacy. So we're saying that we're going to train this 1 million coders. When we train them, then all these Silicon Valley and all those other entities, when they do the digital literacy scan, they will know that many Ghanaians are digitally literate. Then it will enable them come and either invest here directly or outsourcing jobs. You know, there are people who are sitting in their homes working in Australia and making money, making millions of dollars.
A lot of youth engaged in remote working.
Exactly, remote working. So when you train those people, then they will then be positioned to be able to take advantage of those jobs. But apart from that, we're saying that with the private sector, we want to also get into ICT jobs. And with the private sector, we're looking at $3 billion. And I'll come to the big push, and then you ask me all these billions.
Certainly.
Good.
Hopefully we can do that in about 3 minutes or so.
Yes, I'll do that. So when that happens, you see, with every digital innovation, it also creates other opportunities. For example, this studio in which we are now, because a lot of the things are digitized, it also creates another opportunity and threats. What it means is that one young person, if he gets access to this system, he can shut it down. So it creates another opportunity for you to have people who are skilled in cybersecurity, right? So that's a whole range. It's the latest field now. Cybersecurity, data analytics, artificial intelligence, data government, data protection. These are opportunities that will open if we're able to do these things. And then we'll come to agri sector. The agri sector, that is what freaks me more. We haven't talked about it enough.
Indeed. We'll end with the agri sector.
Agri sector, we talked about Jumewura. For example, we're saying that every year we'll train 10,000 people in self-employment. So many young people, they begin employment, their own small businesses. They don't know how to go about it. We'll attach them with people who have success in those areas. For example, if you read and talk to many of the successful business people, they'll tell you that the first 5 years, they didn't buy a new shirt. You must develop that culture. You don't spend or get all the money and then Christmas you go and chill. So
it's a process.
It's a process. So after 5 years, if you sacrifice, you are going to move to the next level. So a Jumewura and then a Jumapa, those who cannot go through formal education, technical and vocational skills, they'll be trained. So that everybody will have a skill, because the next stage of development of this country is going to depend a lot on people who have technical and vocational skills. So with the agri sector, we're saying that When you travel around the country, especially in the north, you see a lot of broken down equipment.
Right.
People go and buy this equipment. They are not mechanics. So it develops a fault, then it's there. We say we're going to establish farm services centers in the various farming zones. So if the zone is rice production, the equipment will be pro-rice production. If it's cassava production, it will be pro-cassava production. It will be pro-corn production. When we do that, what you do is that you go and register. Register, I want my farm 3 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres to be plowed. They'll give you inputs, give you an extension officer. By so doing, we are gradually moving to modern agriculture, because you see, the generation of people who are in agric now, who are feeding, they are growing old. Now you need to make the sector sexy and attractive to the younger.
The young people say, well, this is an old man's
That is why we are also creating farm banks. So government to take land. When you travel across the country, there's so many lands. Take the farmlands, plow them, provide inputs, equipment, so 5 university graduates can come together. Go there, we're going to do rice production, maize production. Government will support them. Then gradually you are seeing that you're getting industrialized farms. And we're saying that in every agro-processing zone, we're going to establish industries. So for example, the Bono area, cashew. So you establish a cashew processing. So when the people get into that production, it all comes to the factory.
I think we certainly have to carve out time to talk more about agri, because time has now.
And then the big push, $10 billion. People say, where are you going to get $10 billion from?
Where are you going to get $10 billion from?
So recently there was a forum at Kempiski, and the foreign investors themselves, not NDC, not John Mahama, they said, in the history of this country, it is only under President Mahama that within that 4 years, and don't forget that almost a year of that was in court. So you're talking about 3 years effectively, that 13.5 billion US dollars came into this country from the private sector. 13.5. So if we've been able to raise 13.5, all the investor community, local and international, are waiting for is for us to have a change of government, not a clearing agent, so that the investors will come in and invest because they have confidence in the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Vote for John Dramani Mahama. Vote for the NDC parliamentary candidate. Eyezu Eyeza. Victory is coming.
Honorable Elvis Efriye Ankra, member of the NDC Manifesto Committee, former director of elections of the NDC. Vibrant and energetic as always. Thank you so much for giving us your time this morning. That's all that time will allow us this morning. Very quickly, we'll get into your birthday messages. Make way for the news at 10. And then, of course, 3 Lounge comes your way. This is, of course, your Election Command Center, putting you front and center before, during, and after the 2024 elections.